it comes to WrestleMania 40, fellas, we're in the end game because there's only 3 weeks until the show actually begins and we already have 10 announced matches. For context, last year's WrestleMania 39 had a total of 15 matches, but if you remove the 2 matches that happened on the fly with The Miz, they only went in with 13 matches. So if you're good at math, that means that there's only room for 2, tops 3 more matches to be announced for this show. So today we're going to be looking at the current state of the WrestleMania 40 card. We're going to look at all of the matches that are currently announced and I'm going to tell you my level of hype for them. But we're also going to look at the matches that could still happen, that could still be announced for the show. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring that bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I know you're going to fall in love with this YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. And we're still on our road to 200,000 subscribers and I would love to reach that milestone before night 1 of WrestleMania. So if you have some wrestling buddies, some wrestling friends that are looking for a new wrestling YouTuber, send them my way. All right, let's get started. First, let's start off with the matches that could still be added to the WrestleMania 40 card. So let's start with Rey Mysterio versus the leader of Legado del Fantasma in Santos Escobar. These two have a fantastic storyline, absolutely worthy of a WrestleMania blood feud. You have Rey Mysterio, the guy who mentored Santos Escobar. You have Santos Escobar, the guy that felt like he was being overlooked and betrayed by his hero, Rey Mysterio. And Santos Escobar turned on Rey and took out his knee, forced him to have surgery, and he was gone for a couple of months. But Rey Mysterio is back, and he's back for some vengeance, and that in itself, right there, that is good enough for a WrestleMania feud, in my opinion. On top of that, you have a Hall of Famer in Rey Mysterio. Really, like, you don't need to sell this that much. The problem is that Rey Mysterio has already challenged Santos Escobar to a match, but not at WrestleMania, but to the upcoming episode of Friday Night SmackDown. Now, there is a super high probability that match is going to end up in a disqualification with shenanigans in some way, shape, or form. But just the fact that that match was announced and it exists on paper on SmackDown tells me that they're probably not going to do a one-on-one match between Rey Mysterio and Santos Escobar at WrestleMania. If anything, I think it's going to be LWO versus Legado del Fantasma. In what capacity? It could go one of 2 ways. It could be a all-men's multi-man tag team match, or it could be a mixed gender tag team match because both teams do have Elektra Lopez and Legado del Fantasma, and we have Zelina Vega in the LWO. Personally, I feel like the one-on-one feud going into WrestleMania probably would have been better and a bit more hype. But if you want to give more people a chance to shine at WrestleMania, I think that that multi-person match is totally plausible and acceptable in my eyes. And the factions have been feuding for so long now. The talent across Legado del Fantasma and LWO tells me that that match would probably be a banger in my opinion. Again, would have been nice to have Rey Mysterio versus Santos Escobar, but again, just the fact that that match was already announced and it exists on paper for SmackDown tells me that that's not the route that they're gonna go. Another match that could still be added to the show is a match involving John Cena. Now, John Cena hasn't been around on WWE TV recently, but he has been on interviews on the record saying that he's free and available and would love to participate in WrestleMania 40 in some way, shape, or form. Now, that could be a promo in the ring, that could be some backstage segments, but that could also be a match. In my opinion, they're not gonna have John Cena come back to try and set up a WrestleMania feud with only a couple of weeks left into the show. I just don't see that as a possibility. If John Cena does get added to the WrestleMania 40 card, it's most likely to be in that Miz spot where he just does an unannounced match on the fly. Also, kind of like how The Rock did at WrestleMania, I think it was 32, where he set the record where he just had an on-the-fly match against Rowan. Now, the question is, if we're gonna have John Cena have an impromptu match at WrestleMania, who should it be? Frankly, I believe that it should be a match involving one of Theory and Grayson Waller. Because it's already a travesty that Austin Theory and Grayson Waller aren't scheduled to have a match. Those are 2 of the best up-and-coming young talents in the men's division of the WWE, and for them to not be on the show is a big bummer. But they both have history in some capacity with John Cena. Austin Theory more so than Waller because it was Austin Theory that beat John Cena at last year's WrestleMania. So if they were to have an impromptu match, I wouldn't hate John Cena righting the wrongs of last year and have him actually hit an attitude adjustment announcement during the match. Maybe they do a 2-on-1 handicap match. Maybe it's back-to-back matches. I don't know. Maybe it's Theory one night and Grayson Waller the other night. There's a lot of ways that you can take this, but I just don't see a proper WrestleMania feud with such little time being built for John Cena. Now, admittedly, like this, whoever ends up having a match with John Cena doesn't really need too much of a feud. The fact that it's John Cena, that's enough star power to make people care. If John Cena wanted Tozawa with only 1 week's notice, people would get hyped for that. Do you want even more wrestling content? Because you could be getting more wrestling content over on Patreon, patreon.com/SantiZam, where you're going to get the Raw reviews, SmackDown reviews, the Wrestling is Cool podcast 3 days earlier than everyone else, and Wrestling is Cool Gaming. So if that sounds interesting to you, go check it out. It'll be the top link in the description, or it'll be the link in the pinned comment. Patreon.com/SantiZap. It's how I'm able to keep this light on and keep this mic on. All right, done with the sellout. Guys gotta eat. Back to the video. Let's talk about the status of the WWE Women's Tag Team Belt and the Tag Team Champions, the Kabuki Warriors, Asuka and Kairi Sane. They are most likely going to be involved in the show in some capacity, either getting involved or maybe just being part of the entrance of Io Sky in her match against Bayley. But I do think that it's a bit of a bummer that every other championship is being defended at this year's WrestleMania except the women's tag titles, at the very least as of the making of this video. And yes, although there is no direct feud happening right now for the Kabuki Warriors, there was no direct feud for Judgment Day either, and they had a really creative solution of having a multi-tag team ladder match for the tag title. So I wouldn't be surprised if the route that they end up taking for the women's tag titles, which they really should add on the show, it would look really bad if these are the only titles that are not defended at WrestleMania. It could end up being another style of like a WrestleMania showcase tag team match for the women's tag titles. I could see them doing that. But if you wanted to create a more traditional tag team feud for the tag belts, I only think that there's one team that there is enough beef with that they could do this with, and that is the team of Naomi and Bianca Belair. And we're going to talk about Bianca Belair here in just a second. This is the only set of women that could make this match viable and WrestleMania worthy because the star power of Bianca Belair and Naomi is undeniable and proven. In terms of stories between the two, there is history there. We had Naomi try and interfere to try and save Bayley from a beatdown from Damage Control, but ended up getting beat down. And if you go back and watch that segment, that entire arena was chanting for Bianca Belair to come out, but she didn't. And understandably so, because in this particular picture that you're seeing here, Bianca Belair smartly points out Damage Control has been really rude and really mean to her and has been beating her down and making her life a living hell over the last year. So why would she come to Bayley's aid? But this is Bianca Belair. She's the hero of the women's division. I could see her putting those thoughts aside to come in and help Bayley in some capacity. Or if not to help Bayley, then to help Naomi, who got beat down recently by Damage Control. And if Bianca Belair does step in to help Naomi against the Kabuki Warriors in Damage Control to try and even out the playing field for Bayley, then this would be a logical match between two major superstars to go up for the women's tag titles. But I want to talk about Bianca Belair, because if this is the route that they go for Bianca Belair, no disrespect to Naomi and the Kabuki Warriors, this is a major, major letdown for Bianca Belair, who is one of the biggest stars in all of WWE and one of the most influential figures in the entire company. She should be doing something much bigger on the show, something with a lot more build, something with a lot more hype than just working with the Kabuki Warriors. I know a lot of people wanted a match with Jade Cargill. I would have loved that. I feel like that would have been fantastic. A lot of people wanted that match with Charlotte. Can't have it. Destiny didn't want it to happen. Obviously, it's better to have Bianca Belair on the show than not, but she should be doing something much, much bigger than this. Two other people that are worth talking about are Liv and Nia Jax, who have been part of the women's world title picture for quite some time now. I know a lot of people are lobbying for Liv Morgan to get added and for this to be made a triple threat. Some people are lobbying for this to become a fatal four-way. In my opinion, I feel like you should just keep Liv Morgan out of this because she's better off having a singles feud with Rhea Ripley, because I personally believe that her story against Rhea Ripley is really good and worthy of a singles feud where she isn't sharing the babyface spotlight with anyone else. But it would also be a complete travesty to keep both of these two off of the show. So I could see them maybe having a one-on-one match with one another with how heated these two have been over the last couple of weeks. There's also a very obvious lack of non-title women's matches going into this year's WrestleMania, so this can help fill that void. Here's a genuine question. If you were to inherit WWE today, as is, no changes, would you book Bobby Lashley versus Karrion Kross at WrestleMania? Because it's debatable whether I would or not. Obviously, the star power of Bobby Lashley is there. Karrion Kross's star power has been waning ever since he's returned, but this feud kind of sucks, dude. And just like my complaint about Santos Escobar versus Rey Mysterio being pre-announced to happen on SmackDown, this match, even though it ended in shenanigans, has already happened on SmackDown as well. So the only way I see these two getting on the WrestleMania card is not in a one-on-one match, because personally, I just find this feud very, very tiresome. It is perhaps maybe a multi-man, again, maybe even intergender tag team match between all of the members of the Final Testament and all the members of Bobby Lashley's faction. But as a singles match, I just don't think that this has enough hype to warrant a spot on WrestleMania with how hard it is to get on there right now. Which sucks, because Bobby Lashley being left off of back-to-back WrestleMania cards would be an absolute travesty. Let's talk about some of the matches that have been announced. We've already gotten LA Knight versus AJ Styles, and this is a good thing. A lot of people are mad that LA Knight isn't going for a title, but he is going against the first ballot WWE, nay, just professional wrestling Hall of Famer in general, and AJ Styles. This is LA Knight's biggest match of his career, even bigger in my opinion than the match against Roman Reigns at Crown Jewel, because we all knew that he was going to lose that and had no chance of being the one to dethrone the Tribal Chief. This, to me, is the biggest, most important match of LA Knight's career. This is going to determine, does he remain a main eventer for the long haul? What do they do with LA Knight after this? Obviously, AJ Styles is cemented and they can use him in whichever way, shape, or form they want to, because they know that he's a proven commodity. LA Knight, I still feel like, needs to prove himself, even though he's been proving himself left, right, and center. He doesn't need to prove himself to me in any capacity. He's already proven himself to me and to most fans, but it just feels like the WWE doesn't want to commit to LA Knight. Overall, I'm very excited for this. I think this has a very good story. I think there's genuine hatred between these two, obviously on-screen hatred that they've demonstrated very clearly and very obviously. That's very easy to understand. So if I'm giving this a thumbs up or thumbs down in terms of hype, it gets a thumbs up from me. We have brother versus brother, Jimmy Uso versus Jey Uso, that was just recently announced. Here's the thing, I'm happy this match is happening, but I really feel with everything that Jimmy Uso has done to make Jey Uso's life an absolute living hell, I really believe that this match needs a stipulation to really make this feel like a genuine blood feud. Don't forget, Jimmy cost Jey the world title, the tag titles, the US title, the IC title. He's been making his life a living hell, even though Jey Uso has done everything in his power to try and separate himself and start anew on Monday Night Raw, but Jimmy just won't let that happen. I've been calling for a City of Brotherly Love street fight. They did the Steel City street fight a few months ago at one of those B-tier pay-per-views. Can't remember if it was Fastlane or Payback, so I kind of stole that idea from there. This should be a street fight. This should have something that gives it that extra oomph. Instead, in terms of the people that are involved and the story behind it, it's a thumbs up, but I just feel like it needs a little extra seasoning. Kevin Owens, Logan Paul, Randy Orton, this is just hype because of how good the workers are. To me, I can see the writing on the wall. We'll talk about that in the predictions video in a couple of weeks, but I can see how this match is going to end up going. So to me, the only downside of this is that, in my opinion, right now, it's one of the more predictable outcomes of the show. But if you're telling me that you're going to have a legend Randy Orton and two fantastic workers in Kevin Owens and Logan Paul, this match could very well steal the show. Now, this match has already been announced to happen at night 2 as well. Am I hyped for this match? You know what? It's possible that I'm just hyped for all the WrestleMania matches. I haven't really scripted that out as to what I'm going to give a thumbs up and a thumbs down to, but this also gets a thumbs up in the hype meter for me. Gunther versus Sami Zayn is presumably going to happen in night 1 if the US title match has already been confirmed to happen on night 2. Am I excited for this match? Listen, okay? Am I excited? Yes, because it's going to be a very good match. The downside is that I believe that Gunther had a better storyline with somebody else that isn't Sami Zayn. I love Sami Zayn. I think this match is going to be great. However, the WWE kind of did Sami Zayn dirty by giving all of the best motivations, all of the best promos, all of the best stories leading into this to Gable, because look, how much better of a motivation does it get than for Gable to want to put a smile back on his daughter's face? The smile that Gunther stole. Those promos, those vignettes, they were fantastic. So it's a little bit weird that they didn't pull the trigger on Gable to be the one to get this match. Perhaps it's just there's no trust in Gable's star power, and Sami Zayn is a proven commodity as he's been a former main eventer at WrestleMania. So I understand the decision. I'm not upset that this is the decision that they decided to go. I'm just a little bit confused, because then why this amazing build for Gable? Still, thumbs up, but had it been Gable, it would have been like 35 thumbs up. Next up, we have the 6-pack ladder match that's gonna happen for the undisputed tag titles. Look, this doesn't need a great story. This is just gonna be a hilarious car wreck. This is gonna be insane. This is gonna be a total of 12 people in a ladder match. That is chaos personified. I don't care who's in it. Anyone that you put in there is gonna end up having a great WrestleMania moment, because like I said, this is gonna be a glorified car wreck, and I'm here for it. Every WrestleMania ladder match that they do always ends up being a highlight of the show, a part of the show that we talk about for years, and I think that it's gonna be no different here. I think the real talking point isn't whether or not this is gonna have a good story, whether or not it's gonna be a good match, because I'm pretty confident that it's going to be. It's whether or not this is where they split the tag titles. That, to me, aside from this match being an awesome car wreck, is the real excitement, because this is a great opportunity for two separate teams to grab different versions of the belt so that we can properly split these fucking tag titles and have two tag team divisions across Raw and SmackDown. Am I excited for this? Yes, not because of story, doesn't need any, just because I know this is gonna be a good match. Next up, we have Seth frickin' Rollins taking on Drew McIntyre for the World Heavyweight Championship. We got here because, of course, Seth Rollins is the champion, and Drew McIntyre won the Elimination Chamber match to become the #1 contender for this title. Look, on paper, if I didn't know storylines, if I didn't know context, I'd be like, why the fuck is this happening again? Because Seth Rollins has already beaten Drew McIntyre time after time after time, clean, in just the past, like, 5 months. So why do this again? That would be my initial criticism if I didn't know context. But this version of Drew McIntyre has more or less reinvented himself into a completely new, completely different character that doesn't in any capacity resemble the person that Seth Rollins beat all those months ago. My only complaint about this is that I feel like Seth Rollins hasn't been involved in this particular feud enough to really create excitement for it, because he's been so busy building that tag match with The Rock and Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes. It's really been left up to Drew McIntyre to make the audience care about this match, but because this version of Drew has been so good, it's worked. So I'm pumped for this. I just hope Drew wins. Thumbs up. Look, I get it. I feel like this should be Liv Morgan. I know a lot of people disagree. This is like a very polarizing topic. I think it should be Liv Morgan. Let's not crucify each other because we have opinions, all right? But we have Becky Lynch, and Becky Lynch is a huge WrestleMania name. This is Rhea Ripley's biggest match since her match against Charlotte Flair at last year's WrestleMania, bar none. In terms of star power and money draw, in terms of all the matches that were available for Rhea Ripley on Monday Night Raw, this was it. This was the biggest match, and this is the match that they had been hinting to and alluding to for the better part of 8 months. The train was always going to land on this destination. I just don't think that the WWE truly expected the popularity of Liv Morgan to bring this match into disarray in any capacity. I will say they've done a much better job of building this and making me care about Becky Lynch's motivations, even though it's weird to have a Hall of Famer, former champion, Royal Rumble winner, Elimination Chamber winner, first ballot Hall of Famer, like I said, in Becky Lynch trying to play the underdog card. I get it. Rhea Ripley is one of the most dominant champions of all time, but it's hard for Becky to play that underdog card. Am I excited for this? Yeah, I'm still excited for it. So, yeah, I guess I'm a bit of a casual bitch right now. Io Sky versus Bayley for the WWE Women's Championship. Am I excited for this? Yes. Do I wish that the WWE was putting a little bit more of a limelight, a bit more of a spotlight, giving this a bit more tender love and care? Absolutely. But the thing is that the performers in the ring are going to deliver an A+ match. I'm excited for the work rate of this, even if the story has been kind of put to the side and almost treated like a B plot. But here's the thing. Even though it's been treated like like a B plot by the WWE, it's still been one of the most interesting, more grounded in reality WWE storylines that they're doing right now. This doesn't need some crazy megastar to help elevate this. No, this is like a grassroots wrestling feud through and through that makes sense for both of them to be in this. I love Io Sky. My little problem with this is that they haven't really treated her as the main face of this feud because it's mostly been Dakota Kai over the last couple of weeks. So I'm hoping in the last 3 remaining weeks that we get more interactions between these two to really help laminate this and stamp it as a really exciting WrestleMania feud. So thumbs up still. The tag match is an obvious thumbs up in every capacity. The WWE has spent most of its efforts trying to get us excited for this, and it's worked. Of course it's worked, because this Rock heel turn, his new aura, his new presence, his new theme song, all of it has worked. In every capacity, everything that they've done with The Rock has landed. And all the other performers involved, they don't really need any introduction. We've got Roman Reigns, the most dominant champion in the modern era. We have his history with Seth Rollins as brothers in the Shield. We have Cody Rhodes, biggest babyface in the company, who has history with Roman Reigns. The slap heard around the world. The slap back also heard around the world. This has been phenomenally built to the point where some casual fans might mistakenly believe that this is the main event, because this has gotten all of the love when it comes to hype on WWE TV. Am I excited? Obviously, thumbs up. I made a video yesterday talking about how they haven't really done anything to help build this feud. So go watch that if you haven't done so already. But I do believe that I make some fair points, but I also understand that perhaps this match just doesn't need a heck of a lot of build because of the people that are involved and the stakes that are involved. And also the fact that the really well-built Night 1 main event feeds directly into this Night 2 main event. So the hype between these two are kind of interlinked, even though this WrestleMania Night 2 match is the one that's closing the show. Even though this hasn't gotten the direct shine that a typical WrestleMania main event should, it might not necessarily need it, because it's going to be piggybacking off of the hype and shine of how they've built Night 1. The match has the star power, Cody and Roman. Doesn't get bigger than those two. It's got the stakes, the world championship, and it's gonna have the star power even more when The Rock inevitably gets involved, because I think this is gonna be bloodline rules. So there's gonna be so many moving pieces in this that this might end up being a bit of an overbooked mess, just like WrestleMania 39 was with how many people got involved. But I think it's going to be the best type of overbooked mess. I'm absolutely still hyped for this. All right, folks, those are my thoughts on the WrestleMania card. It's already looking goddamn exquisite. I feel like this WrestleMania is going to be an all-timer. Let me know your thoughts on the current buildup of matches that haven't yet been announced. And let me know your thoughts on some of the matches that have been announced. Do you think that there's some in there that aren't WrestleMania worthy? Let me know in the comments, but I'm done. Get out of here.